Peace and positive. This is Amelia A. Otto, aka Emily MC, author of Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. And today's topic is on self-esteem, self-awareness, self-compassion, the authenticity paradox, and the mental health of being yourself. Now, before we get into some clips from the global community, we're looking at the significance of self-identity, self-concept, and empathy on our overall wellness, ability to show up for ourselves, and show up in the world as the truest and/or best of who we really are. This may seem like a basic or remedial topic, but it's a sound, fundamental one, especially in light of studies like the 2018 one done by organizational psychologist, researcher, and best-selling author Dr. Tasha Eurich, concluding that, quote, although 95% of people think they're self-aware, only 10 to 15% actually are. And ratio, quote, research suggests that when we see ourselves clearly, we are more confident and more creative. We make sounder decisions, build stronger relationships, and communicate more effectively, end quote. Now, lack of self-awareness, not much time invested in getting to know our true selves, and not being ourselves can lead to a healthy urge and purge, what we now call unlearning, the desire to unlearn these weighted and untrue layers. True. Many of us from childhood to adulthood have been fed, led, programmed, and influenced about who we are and how this should be expressed. And this storyline often has several plot twists within the same life. While different families, cultures, and communities have different approaches to enforcing and reinforcing how to live, many are never truly taught how to be themselves. In fact, certain systems rally against this, making a point to strip people of their creative sense of individuality and our unique constructive contributions to communal conscience. Systems like this can include school, private programs, military programs, prison, hospital programs, and religious programs. While these systems can shape a positive greater goal, sometimes they have negative psychological impacts that can last a lifetime and greatly affect others. Some groups and families also rally against pronounced individuality for protection of the collective, whether for avoiding real danger or to continue the success of blending in with social acceptance and popular public opinion. This happens a lot in immigrant families, private communities, street gangs, social clubs, and more. Many behaviors, personalities, styles of dress, grooming practices, choice of language, place of residence, hobbies, interests, and even whole careers are shaped through our immediate observations and external environments more than true inner inventory and autonomy in our personal experience. Many speak of that mask people walk around with, especially in American West and Eurocentric societies, and how much of a challenge this has made creating and maintaining friendships, intimate relationships, or healthy communities today. Yet it can be very easy to take on the personhood of others no matter where you are or how you grow up. So while it's important to, quote, know from whence we came, it's just as important to connect the dots, self-define where we are and where we're going. In this sense, being yourself is its own health and wellness, its own revolution, its own set of social assets, its own portal of communication, and its own brave path with its own inalienable rewards. According to the 2023 study titled Self-Esteem and Self-Compassion, a narrative review and meta-analysis on their links to psychological problems and well-being by Peter Muris and Enery Otgar, quote, regarding the function of self-esteem, 3 main perspectives have been proposed. First, the self-determination perspective assumes that self-esteem serves as a motivational function that prompts people to take care of themselves and to explore and reach their full potential. Second, terror management theory postulates that self-esteem functions as a buffer against the fear of death, and a more positive and less fatalistic attitude towards life makes people better able to deal with everyday reminders of the finiteness of life. The third accounts self-esteem as an innate monitoring system that measures a person's relational value to other people, or in more concrete words, the degree to which other people regard their relationship with the individual to be valuable, important, or close. In contrast, self-compassion refers to how people treat themselves when they encounter failure, deficiencies, or suffering in their personal life. End quote. Self-compassion is a major key to the journey of being yourself because sometimes a healthy self-esteem can land us in an unhealthy situation we have to rescue our true selves out of. For example, it can be a very great thing and even essential to be open-minded and open-hearted to a situation, experience, person, place, or thing. However, sometimes, even with our best defenses up, we can be so focused on the learning and growth potential of a new experience that we lose our essential skills for discernment and wisdom. The ability to judge things wisely and apply the understanding of knowledge are not just lines from a story or some woke speech. They're assets in our mental health toolbox and emotional intelligence. It's important to be able to see and sense what is and isn't for us, but most importantly, to see where we're lying to ourselves, not just about external nouns, but lying to ourselves about ourselves. Ego can be a great thing when it comes to self-esteem, defending ourselves, standing up for something, protecting values, principles, and overcoming challenges. However, being ego-led in our interactions, relationships, growth experiences, and goals can beget imbalance, misdirected emotional energy, unstable emotional spikes, a costly lack of awareness, and an inability to adapt to sudden or gradual change. As Afeni Shakur once said, "Tell you the truth first. Tell you the truth sometimes." This becomes important not just in building a life, career, dreams, or goals, but also in ensuring our basic safety and security. The full quote from my book, which inspired this topic, was rooted in my own experience from what became a very unhealthy romantic relationship. One which happened during a natural growth state in my life, but still slowly transformed me into a different person I could barely recognize, and slowly impacted every other relationship and physical surrounding in my life. It's not a small thing to wake up and realize the life you're living is not true to who you are, and not being sure how to change it. In fact, this can be very scary, especially if you don't have an immediate support system or the financial help to protect yourself. What was most alarming about that moment in my life was I was so busy using my intelligence to be open to this new experience and its benefits and my goals that I was slower to question the impact of the experience itself and the person on my psyche. It was a while before I could truly see the forest for the trees, as they say. What also made it challenging was when I did start to question it, several others didn't. Some even reinforced that it was a good situation and I was essentially just being paranoid. But actually, this was my intuition, intelligence, and higher senses the entire time. This is another callback to discernment and wisdom, and what some researchers call the authenticity paradox, where esteem and accuracy in how one is perceived may improve, but the true self is not yet socially adapted. There's a lot more conversations about this nowadays, with the likes of questioning whether we've, quote, healed too much, and as a result, no longer enjoy most of our relationships or environments. Or more common experiences in the professional world like imposter syndrome, or even Armenia Ibarra's 2015 article for the Harvard Business Review's authenticity section titled, quote, "Why Feeling Like a Fake Can Be a Sign of Growth," end quote. But we have a natural defense to this in discernment and wisdom, in that the human body, brain, and energy centers are clever because we often feel what we're designed to notice. And sometimes, no matter what's piled on top of who we really are, the truth calls out from beneath the layers. It's important we ascribe this not just to physical wellness and outer presentation, but also to our mental, physical, and emotional understanding of ourselves. A strong principle in self keeps low-frequency emotions like envy, apathy, and shame away. But more importantly and more fulfillingly, with enough practice at self-love and being yourself, your experience becomes so uniquely rewarding to you that there's simply no room for desire to live out anyone else's. Now, if you're following along with my original book, here's your day 10 quote from page 172. And if you're following along with my workbook, we're on prompt number 11. Thank you all for your support of Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. And without further ado, let's roll the clips and hear from the global community about the science, mental health journey, and rewards of being yourself. Peace.
You know what I would say? Follow your heart. There's number one rule. Follow your heart. Like, a lot of people might not see your vision yet. You know what I mean? People might call you crazy or think it won't make sense. Follow your heart and just follow it all the way through. And that's when you'll see you making new ground and people will appreciate it later on. You know what I mean? Never try to do something to impress the next man, you know what I mean, or the next woman. Like, it's really about what you see and what you have inside. Everybody's unique individual here. You know what I mean? So you have something to contribute. So whatever it is, follow that and bring it out and share at the table with all of us. You know what I mean?
You shouldn't go outside being someone you're not and fooling yourself. You're going to be playing Halloween for 365 days a year, 12 months. You're going to wake up and play Halloween all day. I can't wake up and be a Halloween character, bro. That's too much fucking energy. That's too much energy. You see Will Smith, Kevin Hart, Michael B. Jordan, they go and act like other niggas, right? For a couple months. Imagine doing that shit your whole life. At least the niggas get paid for it. And we know they're acting. This is for entertainment. You wake up and be someone you're not because of what other people say. You're not sure about yourself, you're not confident, you're not pure, nigga. Stay pure. It's okay. You like anime, nigga. You pick your nose and eat it. Eat your boogers, nigga. It's okay, nigga. Be yourself. Period. Period.
I'm obsessed with finding myself now and not having to prove anything to anybody other than myself and my family, but really myself. And realizing that is enough. Giving your best is enough. And sometimes we lose track of that. So for anybody out there, you're enough.
You have to start identifying and having the desire to identify your masks, your identities, and your personas. The areas where you are showing up and you're not being authentic. The areas where you don't really want to see yourself. The things that you don't want to fully acknowledge. The emotions that are still painful and you may not have the tools to really sit with. And when you start sitting with those things intentionally, in silence, without work, without the worry of money, without the worry of family, a boyfriend, a fiance, a mom, when your journey is solely about you and you give yourself permission to sit in your darkness without running from yourself, then you can start to fill into what your purpose is. You're not clogged with work. You're not clogged with money. You're not clogged with love.
So if a liar can never be loved, there will always be a disconnect. This is either from others or from yourself. So if you're playing a role and you're acting like something that you're not, in order to get love and approval, even if you get love and approval, it's not you receiving it. It's your persona. It's your fake thing. It's my mask. It's my fake identity. It's like, I'm badass, even though I'm terrified. Like, it's the lying that you think that you're going to get loved for. And the worst thing that can ever happen to you guys, and this happens for women all the time, the worst thing that happens is when it works. Because now you got to keep being fake. You have to keep the role up. You have to keep the character going. You have to keep being a fraud in order to continue the charade. Eventually, over years, the imposter syndrome and the stuff starts to crack. I'm not really being me. And everyone likes me for not being me, which shows how much I hate myself. It's a sad story, you guys. It's a sad story. I don't like me, so I started being someone else. And then they like someone else that I started being. And so now I have to keep acting like I'm that, even though that's not me. Man, how could I ever be me again?
Listen, stop trying to be somebody else. Don't try to be someone else. Be yourself and know that that's good enough. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be like someone else. Don't try to act like someone else. Be yourself. Be secure with yourself. Rely and trust upon your own decisions, on your own
The problem that's going on in society is everybody want to be like everybody else. I ain't interested in that. I'm just interested in being myself. I want to be me. That's it. And when you being yourself, life is so much better. Why would I want to be the next person? Why you want to be like me? Don't be like me. Be yourself, man. Be like you. That's where the superpower is. That's where the magic happens. Man, this truck loud as hell. Be yourself. All right? I think in society, we're missing authenticity. We need that now more than ever before.
Everyone says, just be yourself. But let's be honest, authenticity has become another performance. You're told to be real, but not too real. Vulnerable, but aesthetically. Honest, but only in ways the algorithm will reward. We've turned being ourselves into content. We curate our chaos. We edit our truths. We package our pain into something palatable. Because raw honesty doesn't trend unless it's pretty. But here's the paradox. The more you try to be authentic, the more self-conscious you become. You start asking, is this relatable enough? Is this too much? Will this ruin my likability? And suddenly, you're performing authenticity instead of living it. Real authenticity isn't quirky captions or crying selfies. It's who you are when you're not trying to impress anyone, including yourself. So stop chasing realness that fits into a neat little box. You don't need to brand your truth. You just need to be it. Tell me, what's one part of yourself you've edited to seem more likable? Because the moment you stop performing is the moment you meet yourself.
Is it possible to be too authentic? Absolutely. Now, many people misunderstand authenticity. They think it means full disclosure of every thought and feeling at all times. But unfiltered expression isn't always a virtue. The authenticity without wisdom can be reckless. And paradoxically, being too authentic can destroy the very trust it's meant to build. The Harvard researcher identified this issue and called it the authenticity paradox. And the paradox lies in the tension between being true to yourself and measuring how much of yourself to reveal. Now, a lot of people struggle with this. Sometimes we invite so much of our own personality and authenticity into a room, we leave no room for anyone else to be their authentic selves. And then other times, we may conceal ourselves behind a mask, which makes us suspicious and untrustworthy. Both extremes lead to conflict. Now, authenticity requires balance and knowing what parts of yourself to bring forward, and when, and in what measure. Right? It requires judgment, not just self-expression. Now, some people will argue that editing this way is selling out, and they'll say, I shouldn't have to adjust who I am to make other people comfortable. And they're right if the goal is comfort, because there's a difference between editing yourself to be more palatable and choosing to reveal certain parts of yourself with intention. You don't tell your whole life story on the first date because it's wise to pace the revelation as trust builds over time, right? Well, you can still reveal the real you, even if you don't reveal it all at once.
There's a very interesting paradox between being authentic and also wanting to build community and being socially flexible. Because the more authentic you become, I think the less adaptable we become in social situations. Now, I don't mean that you lose social skills, but rather, if you're very good at socializing with many different types of people, you have to partake in a level of acting, and sometimes a lot of acting, of taking on personas that fit certain situations. And so the more genuine you become to who you are at your core, the more difficult you will find these social situations, because you have to divorce yourself from who you are at your core and take on these different characters. And I think this is where the paradox comes, because if you are someone who maybe feels lonely and wants to build relationships and connection, you have to be able to put yourself in all these situations and social contexts to meet new people and to figure out who you want to surround yourself with. And that's going to take some acting and putting on certain faces and masks around these people. And yet, you won't want to, or may seem extremely difficult to, because you're not being authentic to who you are. And so it's like, how can we find people who are going to accept us for who we really are if we're in all these social interactions which requires us to be someone we're not?
The problem with authenticity, as W. David Marks explains, is that it can be a prison of our own making. We shouldn't try to be so authentic to the point that we deprive ourselves of new experiences to grow and be new things. But we shouldn't also try to be so eager to put on status symbols that don't necessarily represent us that we become inauthentic. In my own experience, I found that people tend to prefer an authentic monster over a disingenuous, kind person.
I'm finding out that the universe really doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you are. And you attract the things that you are. So, yeah, you can't really race to be something you're not.
There is nothing wrong with being yourself. And I wish I heard those words sooner when I was 14. Because you try to fit in so much just because you want to be part of the cool group or you want to just fit in and you want to belong. When you start doing that, you start revealing what group is meant for you, what friend group, what relationship, what people are meant for you, what aligns with you, because you're showing your real self. Because the minute that you're pretending to be like everybody else, you're gonna lose yourself because you really don't have a sense of self. So be you. Don't be scared to be yourself. Because trust me, there's so many people that are gonna like you. Because this whole world is filled with so many different people.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
I love how free she was and how her beauty and her style embodied who she was through and through. She was beautiful within the inside regarding like her mind and how she thought. She was inspirational. She dared to be different.
It kind of throws people, you know what I mean, because they automatically think it's about me being miseducated. But miseducation is actually, it's like a metaphor for actually being re-educated, unlearning some bad things, you know what I mean, some things that I may have perceived to be the truth, you know what I mean, that actually weren't, and really understanding that there are things that society teach us which are like general pieces of information, you know, just for the general public, and there are things that are extremely important for us to individually learn, you know what I'm saying, just as far as just personal relationships with other people, personal relationships with God, you know, just the way in which we should live our lives.
Her beauty and her style embodied who she was through and through, but even down to her locks. She just was herself. She didn't have to be anybody else. She didn't fake the funk. When she felt herself faking the funk, she checked herself, even as we've seen within the Unplugged performance. That's a very slept on gem that I think a lot of people did not appreciate at the time. It's a beautiful project. If you didn't get the chance to watch her Unplugged, and I highly recommend you to check it out. And not to mention, she was a great representation for beautiful, darker complexion women like myself. Watching her, she didn't have to be so revealing. You just exude this beauty. And I think that's so rare to find nowadays, where we think you need to be revealing to show your beauty. And I'm not gonna say at one point years ago, I didn't fall into that, because that's what society pushes, for you to show yourself in order for you to get attention, or in order for you to be seen as beautiful, or in order for your outfit to be seen as poppin'. However, when you are clothed and you can still look beautiful and just exude this radiant nature to you, or like, it's like you exude like the sunlight.
Always be yourself. Never ever change. Never ever let no one change you. Always mold you into who you want to be. Always strive for greatness. Always strive to do the right thing.
You can always tell when a woman has reclaimed herself. Her spirit stops hustling for peace. It can simply choose. There's a shift that happens when a woman finally gets tired of abandoning herself. She stops chasing peace and starts choosing it. You'll notice she moves differently. She's not rushing into rooms she was never meant to be in. She's not sprinting to prove her loyalty to people who never earned the first mile. Her breath gets deeper, her intuition louder, her boundaries get cleaner. And none of it comes from anger. It actually comes from remembering who she is when she's not performing for survival. She's not over-explaining anymore. She lets clarity speak for her. She's not negotiating with red flags. She lets them do their job. She doesn't override her body to keep the peace. She listens to it because it's the only voice that has never lied to her. This is what reclamation looks like. A woman who protects her peace not because she's fragile, but because she's finally aware of the price she paid every time she lost it. And once she becomes rooted, chaos can't seduce her. People-pleasing can't distract her. Noise can't claim her. She's not cold. She's not distant. She's just no longer available for the version of her life that required her to disappear. Her softness didn't fade. She just reserves it now for what doesn't cost her herself.
The biggest thing is just being yourself all the time. You know what I mean? When you're trying to be yourself all the time, everyone is not going to like you. But who cares? You know what I mean? As long as you're being yourself, you got to wake up with that person at the end of the day. You can be able to look at that person in the mirror and be like, you know what? I know I'm being myself. I'm not being anyone else. And that's the greatest thing about this, is me being myself and knowing that I can live with a situation, knowing that I can wake up being me and it's not someone else I was trying to pretend to be. Anytime I speak out, I'm just speaking out being myself. I speak from a good place. I don't have ill intentions with no one on anything that I do. So I know God recognized that, so he always put me in great positions, even when it's a bad position.
Isn't that crazy? It's a slippery slope, too, because some of you guys who are like, I don't give a fuck. And then people are like, well, then you're the man. You're the man, dude. You're awesome. You're like, I am? You're like, yeah, you're the man. And then it's real easy to slide back into their compliments, pull you right back in and needing validation again. Watch out. These are traps. It's a trick to pull you right back into conformity again. I want you guys to be aware of this so you can make better decisions. Decisions that are yours.
But for real, always be yourself. And if people don't accept you for who you are, man, fuck them.